Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. This is going to be a special edition video. Won't take too long. It's mostly going to be relevant to the local friends that I have because I just finished getting back from GameOn. I was doubly frustrated that I wasn't able to make it to Cascade Gone this year. That's going to be a regular staple for me for years to come. But in the meantime, because this was nearby, across the street from my wife's hospital, we were able to, I was able to break away and get down there for some game time. And it takes place in Bellevue. It's called GameOn. It's been around for 10 years. It was founded by Jeff Newell. And for 10 years, he's evoked a friendly environment that involves basically just people coming and playing games. That's kind of his desire. War gamers, lots and lots of multi-day war games going on. Euro gamers, casual gamers, just fun. The emphasis being on fun, casual play in a variety of different ways. This year it took place at a new venue, the 116 Hotel in Bellevue, which was honestly a step up. I mean, I haven't really had any issues with the previous ones, other than, they've not always been like perfection incarnate as far as the facilities and management, maintenance, whatever. But honestly, they've all been great. You're playing board games. I could do it in a windstorm under a tunnel of a viaduct, in New Hebrides, and I'd probably find a way to enjoy myself if there was a board game involved. But in this case, I was very pleased with the hotel, the spaciousness. The restaurant, we'll call that a hit or miss, but you're right next to a coffee shop, and also I was right next to Chick-fil-A, so I think I've had all the chicken that I'm going to need till at least the summer months. Oh, tasty. I wanted for nothing. Due to a family medical situation, I wasn't able to stay the entire time, but was able to enjoy the middle part of my stay there. So I'm just going to run through the games that I played, and then games that I observed, and then kind of a thank you to the people who always make it just very friendly to me. I played a game of Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, which I hadn't played before and wasn't on my radar. I could very much see it at a 6-player count. I understand it. It's a little bit slushier of a detective figure out who's the actual murderer thing, but I do like the idea of how they set it up. There's lots of room for ambiguity, and so that might not hit some people because the way you put your clues out, you're not always in control. You, the person trying to give clues, basically, yeah, there's a murder, someone's a murderer, they point to certain cards they have that are like, this is my murder weapon, and this is critical information. And then you, on your turn, you're either going to be someone trying to guess who the murderer is, or if you're the murderer, you're trying to dissuade people from it by saying, oh, of course, you can really get into character. Or you are the one actually giving out the clues over time. And again, it's not really on rails too much. There's a lot of like, you put out clues. I made the mistake of putting out a clue with the wrong description of the clue, and so I had to ditch that clue and waste it to bring out a different one. Long story short, lots of fun in the right group with the right number of people. That was cool. Red Flag Over Paris was a game that I played from. It is a spiritual reimagining, if you will, of Fort Sumter, a game that I utterly and completely did not find interesting. This, on the other hand, changed dramatically, and I'm going to be doing a review on that, so I'm not going to give a bunch of information other than to say I because of its relationship with Fort Sumter, I had glossed it over and not given it a second thought. I was wrong, and we'll find out more in my review. Kemet, Blood and Sand. I waffled on this and finally bought it from the board game vendor around the table, and am glad I did. Decent game at 2 players, really shines at 3 and 4, but I can see why people consider it the consummate dudes on a map kind of game. Radlands, which is a game that came in, it is a 2-player back and forth game from someone who was involved with Magic the Gathering. Be that as it may, it's a tight, interesting game that gives off kind of a Mad Max feel with an 80s Neon Fury kind of vibe. Neon Fury is a different game, but Neon kind of vibe. So far I've enjoyed it. I think it's okay. Fairy Tale Inn, I love when people take games that you've known before and reimagine them. Fairy Tale Inn is basically Connect 4 that doesn't suck. It's not a boring Connect 4. You're playing a game similar to Connect 4, but how you are arranging and spatially setting up the pieces you're dropping in determine points you make, special powers you can activate. Very quirky and very much worth the $24.99 I paid for it. So, and then Role Player Adventures, which I'd always had my eye on. I wanted to confirm that you don't need to have played Role Player any of the others, and you don't. There's a special bonus if you do, where you can bring in a character you made, but ultimately they are completely divested from each other as far as needing to have one in order to understand the other. And so far, in the infancy of the games I've played, it is basically a pleasant, delightful, simplified, fun, Gloomhaven-ish kind of experience. It doesn't have you nearly racking your brain as much as it is making fun, interesting decisions, which is what you like in a role-playing game. And finally, the star of the show for me was a game called Micro Macro Crime City, or Macro Micro Crime City. Something with macro and micro. Google it at your heart's content. I've seen it around a long time, and I'm not big on puzzle-ish games too much. And when someone said, hey, it's Where's Waldo, but it's an actual fun game, I'm like, oh, that sounds clever and perhaps gimmicky. It's cool. It's way cooler than I thought. You literally don't have to teach it. It just teaches itself. And it's interesting and clever and entertaining for anybody. I brought it home, put it on the table for my wife, and she actually asked to play it again the next day. This is unheard of. So if you have a fun gathering and you're like, let's play a game that I don't have to like go through don't even have to teach. Macro Macro Crime City. Now two games I observed. I had a chance to see. I didn't, because of the nature of the situation. Like I said, there was a family medical situation, etc. A lot of unknowns and uncertainties. So I didn't actually sign up for a lot of games. A lot of these were just emergent. Hey, let's play these. In the future years at game conferences, I don't like to. I like to have an anchor in the sand in other games. But Triumph and Tragedy is a game whose, like, the cover of the box is like almost universally just mocked. But it is a really interesting semi-sandbox-ish type of game. 3 players, you don't want to play it with less. You just don't. This is a 3-player game. This one of those ones, like 3 players, you got to figure it out. Conquest and Consequence was one that I watched played for several hours, that similar but a little bit more on the complexity scale. Again, you want to play it with 3. War Room, even just looking at War Room with its circular map and all of the pieces lined up and everybody like playing this game, it just feels like you're in a war room, like making plans, and just the stage presence is enough to make you want to go, I'd like to try that someday. Dune Imperium, lots of Dune Imperium being played, along with 10,000 other games. War of the Ring Deluxe Edition, even if you played War of the Ring, if you get the terrain pack and you get the colored miniatures, what a difference it makes in table presence. It's just so cool. And finally, Stellar Horizons was a game that many hours, a full onslaught of a full day to play the many decades of Stellar Horizons, which is just this big space opera-ish kind of like go forth and conquer the universe, do Alpha Centauri and beyond. So, and that's it. And then a few people I want to mention. I want to thank Nick from Around the Table. His store has been around for several years. He just, he's got a lot on his plate, but he still made it there. So I'm very, very glad of that. Jeff Newell, as always, for putting it on. It was, great talking with you, man. Mike Conyers, who runs his little board game sanctuary, and him and his fiance always are good at corralling people to play games and have fun. Very good teacher. And of course, Brad Richards, which I had to leave before I realized that he'd won this year's award for which makes me glad I voted for you, because you are such a nice guy and you're always really helpful. Just explaining games, bringing people in, letting them watch the games, interacting with them, answering questions with unlimited patience. So you're a great ad, and I'm glad that you finally got recognized for it. So anyway, thanks to all my local peeps, and if you've got GameOn type experiences that you've had or that you're looking forward to, tell me about them, because I love hearing about other game conferences going on and such. So anyway, take care, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.